Hey all, welcome to this week's video. Uh, this week, I'm just gonna, I'll figure out what week number it is. Um, it was going to be called An Aspie Son's Guide to His Past Parents. Done a lot of research, I talked to both sets of parents, and I had like a lot of brilliant stuff to say, but then I kind of realized it all wasn't right. Um, you know, I think I should make some stuff clear. Um, I've been in therapy for the better part of the year, and some things have come up, and it makes it, excuse me, it makes it so that any guide I could have given to my parents would almost be useless. Um, to give you sort of some background, both of my parents are from abusive homes. My grandmother, who's as I mentioned has recently died, um, wasn't a very good mother. She just wasn't. I've had to live with the results of her raising my whole life. Um, she was a narcissist. She's a bunch of other things. I didn't really get along with her. And my dad's done very well considering his mother, but he's still very damaged. And his father, um, along with being in the closet, was also a bipolar unmedicated with severe anger issues. And so I suspect he physically abused my father. I've never been able to get my dad to talk about it. I know that he emotionally and verbally abused my dad. He did talk about that a little. My mom talked about it when she met her father-in-law back in the day, her ex-father-in-law back in the day. And my dad's a lawyer, and as I've told many people, as a father, my dad made a really great attorney. It was not pleasant growing up. My mother was abused in all ways that a daughter can be by her father, and her mother basically stood by and let it happen. Did that whole 50s, oh, what am I supposed to do? I'm just the mother. I met my grandmother. Woman worked for 30 years as a school bus driver. Excuse me, as a school bus driver, and in the East. Well, the East to me, I'm from the West. They call it the Midwest where they're from, but they're within 8 hours of the Atlantic Ocean. They're not in the Midwest. The Midwest to me is like Wyoming. Um, but she basically stood by and let it happen, even though she was a bus driver in the middle of horrendous winters, and so it was very physically strong, could get a lot done. But when it came to that, no, it took her 10 years after all of her children came and said, "Oh, by the way, our father abused us in every way possible," for her to finally divorce my grandfather. Um, And you ask why this happened, why did anyone do anything? Very simply, my grandfather was chief of police. My mother's father, my grandfather, was chief of police where they grew up. And this led to a lot of things, including a majority of my cousins being messed up in some way. And myself, I'd like to throw myself in that. So all of the grandchildren are messed up in some way because their parents are messed up. My grandfather had 3 daughters and 1 son, and they're all messed up. I know they're going to see this, but I'm sorry, you guys are screwed up. And so I could give you all of this stuff, and I could talk about my stepmother and how she's messed in the head, and my stepdad, whose reaction to having a very, very chaotic childhood has become a disciplinarian. And I could say all that, but it wouldn't be helpful. I could say to them, and it wouldn't be helpful to you. It'd be helpful to them. If I could say one thing, I'd go back and I'd say, oh, by the way, your son, your stepson, has a mild form of what you might want to think of as autism, and while that there's disagreement as to whether that's true or not, it's a good way to think about it for the interim. Here's something called Asperger's syndrome. There's not a lot of research on it, and because remember, there wasn't a lot of research until about 2000, and in 2000 I was 21. So But here's a lot of, here's this, here's that. Talking to I think my stepdad expressed it best, that the reason why they screwed up with me was because they were operating from the wrong paradigm. That they had the wrong data. They thought something else was different. They thought when I was 12 that I had an emotional handicap, that I had a learning disability, and that I was ADD, and that's all there was to it. When that was like, that was like the tip of the iceberg. So, and same thing about my mom and my dad, my stepmom and my dad. My stepmom said, "Oh, we had the wrong information. We had this." She went into this horribly complex counselor thing, but that was basically it. Unfortunately, my dad's reaction was to say, "Well, I would have deferred to your stepmother on this." Me and my stepmother never got along, and I never respected her. That would have been a mistake. So, number one, I don't respect my stepmom, and I don't respect my stepdad. As a child, this is true. I respect my stepdad now. I don't respect my stepmom. I see she has problems. I see she has this, but I see all three of my brothers have suffered because of her weakness, so I just can't forgive her for that. Um, and I would have told my dad to man up and fucking handle it. His son's broken. Deal. So a lot of you who have had normal childhoods or who have had unbroken parents, um, honestly, I would, if you grew up and you suddenly found this, yeah, that would be basically the biggest thing. I would say that you're operating from the wrong paradigm. There is something wrong with your kid. Here's how you handle it. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. So what's the biggest thing that you can do for your child? Um, teach them. Teach them. Make them strong. The world isn't going to play nice. It's going to mess them completely up. In the martial arts, you want the student to beat the master. That's kind of what you want here. You want your child to be able to just go out and just haul ass through the world, and do great, whatever they want to do. Whether it be an artist, be a teacher, be a scientist, be a cook, be a warehouse worker, be whatever they want as an Aspie. Whatever. Just be successful at it. And even if they don't know what they want, why not be successful at not knowing? I'm 34. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I've had 5 majors, okay? Culinary arts, emergency medicine, computer science, general studies, and now physics. That's 5. 5. And I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So don't predetermine what your child will be. Give them options. Show them. Let them explore. But don't be afraid to give guidance. Sometimes you don't know where you want to go, as anyone can know. Anyone should know. Sometimes you don't know what you want to do. Sometimes you don't know what you want to eat. And somebody comes along and says, well, what about this? And you're like, okay, definitely not that. Or they're like, well, what about this? And you're like, that looks kind of nice. I think I'll try that out. You go to the store, you try on many pairs of pants. You find one that fits. Why not do that with life? So what would I tell my parents in the past? Don't send me to culinary school. There was a lot of good memories there, but it was the wrong choice. It was the absolutely wrong choice. I cannot be a line cook. I have no business working in a kitchen. Maybe as a prep cook, but don't send me into customer service. Don't send me into anything that has me dealing with the general public and fight for me. That's the one thing you can do. As a parent, your child needs to know you're there. Needs to know you're on their side, no matter what. I can tell you, I don't feel that way about my dad, and I don't feel that way about my mom. My dad gives up when it gets hard. My dad, when it comes to his kids, he will fight to the death for his clients, and he will not show that level of dedication for his own children. He did that with one brother of mine, but he also wouldn't let that brother fail. And now that brother believed all the tripe my dad fed him, and is only now learning that maybe it's not true. And I love him, but watching him have to grow up is kind of painful. And my mom, believes in the system more than anything else. She believes in the system. The system is right. Doesn't matter how many times it betrays her or betrays her own family or fails. System's right. So, yeah. So to sum up, both my parents are broken in some ways, probably irretrievably, unless they're willing to face down their demons and do something about it. Uh, so yeah, fight early, fight often. Never give up, never surrender. No guts, no galaxy. But most important, he who dares wins. Um, I have a very good chance of having children that have Asperger's syndrome. And if I have a kid that has Asperger's syndrome, stand back, because I'm coming. I will run you the hell over for my kid. And yet, that doesn't mean I'm going to coddle them. It doesn't mean I'm going to be easy on them. I will give them support. I will give them love. But think about Mickey from Rocky. Okay, we should be like that. You know, you got to go in there. You got to fight. You got to do this. You got to give it your heart. You got to never let them knock you down. And always remember, Mickey loves you. You remember that speech? He finished it by telling Rocky, always remember Mickey loves you. And he meant it. That was the most important part of the speech to him. And that's what you can do for your kids. Be supportive. Be the rock that lets them launch. Be there. Let them push against you. Let them shove. It will be hard. It will be difficult. But if you do it right, it will be totally worthwhile. Have a good week, everyone.